It was very fast. There was multiple explosions. I mean, big explosions that were jarring me out of my sleep.
At first, some neighbors thought it was a fireworks show at 4 a.m., but it turned out to be a big four-plex going up in flames. Everybody did get out, but 2 had to jump from the top floor just to survive. All right, good afternoon. I'm Chris Willis. Thanks as always for being with us. Fire investigators are trying to figure out what started this fire. KGW's Tim Gordon has more now from Northeast Portland.
Well, hours later, and they're still putting water on parts of this four-plex through the window there. Those are the windows that 2 people had to jump out of to escape the flames.
All units from command at this time, we're going to be defensive. Engine 24, I need you to get your turret going. Let's see if we can knock this thing down, transition to fire, okay?
This is what a battalion chief pulled up to just after the first fire crews arrived. A massive fire at Northeast Garfield and Failing. Witnesses reported it after hearing loud booms. Investigators found the fire suspicious from the start.
They are actually interviewing people right now to figure out exactly what those noises were, what was heard being said right before the fire broke out. I can tell you they're taking this one very seriously.
10 people were in the building, all made it out. But again, 2 jumped from up high, both hurt from the fall and the flames. One, firefighters called critically injured, were told they're doing better now and should survive. Also, they say a puppy was dropped from the top floor. It was somehow okay. At first, neighbor Daniel Walker thought it was fireworks that woke him up.
When I came out, I stood right about here, and my face was burning because it was so hot. And the whole house everything was gone. It was like on the outside, it was like on the inside, coming out of every window of the house.
An early morning disaster that somehow everyone survived. A battalion chief tells me one firefighter early on got water on that new construction you see just off the four-plex. It's burned there, but just lightly. That was a good save because that new construction could have gone up like a tinderbox. In Northeast Portland, Tim Gordon, KGW News.
Boy, thank you, Tim. 10 people in there. Thank goodness they all got out. All right, fireworks are likely to blame for this fire at a home in Longview, Washington. It happened overnight on Douglas Street. Firefighters say the flames started in a garage and eventually spread to the rest of the house. 2 cars and a motorcycle were damaged. At least 1 power line was also knocked down. Today, investigators are sifting through debris to find out what caused an iconic restaurant to catch fire. This is the Otis Cafe, just off Highway 18 out near Lincoln City. The fire started last night. Flames were contained to the kitchen and the attic. Firefighters say it'll likely have to be closed, though, for a while at least, because of heavy smoke damage. Fortunately, no one was injured. The owner says he hopes to rebuild and is overwhelmed by the show of support from the community. According to the Statesman Journal, Otis Cafe was established back in the 1920s. Take a look at this video out of Northeast Portland. A car crashes into the building at 72nd Avenue and Gleason. It happened just after 6:30 this morning. Portland police say 2 people inside the car took off, and now officers are trying to find them. We don't know yet what caused that crash. All right, a live look from our Wells Fargo Skycam. A little bit cloudy, a little bit cooler than what we're used to, and an insect making its home right in the middle of your screen here. Let's get the latest now on our forecast with Joe Ranieri. And Joe, we are seeing cooler weather compared to what we're used to this time of the year.
Exactly right, and that's what we're going to be continuing to see over the next couple of days. Now, this is typically one of the first holiday weekends of the summer, obviously, and we see sunny and kind of hot conditions. No, not this year. It's going to be feeling more like the early part of June, not just this afternoon, but a good part of the weekend and the early part of next week as well. But here's a live look from the Rose City camera. We have some thick clouds above the city. Temperatures are running right around the mid to the upper 60s. We're going to see our temperatures get up a little bit warmer, right around the mid 70s, as these clouds slowly start to burn off. And if you're going to be going to the Blues Festival, you are going to be seeing some decent conditions here the next few hours. A typical July looks like this. Starting off, we should see highs in the upper 70s. By the end of the month, we're in the low 80s. Rainfall amounts just over 1/2 inch. Our first 100-degree day, usually by July 19th. Not to worry, we are not tracking any heat, and I'm not tracking any threat of temperatures that warm over the next few days. As we look at the weather headlines, afternoon clearing today. Nice temperatures, though, for July 5th. Showers possible tomorrow. We're not talking about heavy rain at all. And then no major heat on the way. And by the early part of next week, things will remain on the cool side. Talk more about that in detail in just a few minutes. But walk outside, at least throughout the west side of the Cascades. Start to see some thick clouds over there along the coast and the valley. You travel over into the east side of the state, you'll be seeing a little bit more of the sunshine. I'll have a look at your weekend forecast in about 10 minutes.
All right, we'll see you in a bit. Joe, thanks. A magnitude 5.4 aftershock struck in Southern California this morning. It is the same area where a 5.4 quake hit yesterday. NBC's Joe Fryer is near Ridgecrest, with the latest.
Shaking offices, broken glass, cracked roads, and house fires.
Oh my God, those are the tires blowing up on the cars.
Thursday's 6.4 earthquake initially had residents wondering, is this the big one California has been bracing for?
It's the biggest one I felt.
Experts say no.
This earthquake does not make the big one any more likely or any less likely.
The big one is the monster earthquake experts say is due to hit Southern California. Its potential impact seen here in this simulation of a 7.8 magnitude quake from the Southern California Earthquake Center. That's an earthquake 125 times stronger than this July 4th quake and 44 times stronger than the infamous Northridge quake that hit near LA in '94. That quake killed 57 and caused $49 billion in economic losses. Seismologists say over the next week, there's about a 9% chance an earthquake larger than magnitude 6.4 could hit the region and an 80% chance of at least a magnitude 5. Experts say it looks like two faults were involved in Thursday's event, but not the infamous San Andreas fault, which is more than 100 miles away. As the quake rattled Los Angeles, many questioned why they didn't get an alert from LA's early warning system.
And the shake bot alert didn't go off, which was really weird.
The shake alert, yeah.
The shake alert didn't go off. I checked it.
But authorities say the system did not fail. Rather, the quake's intensity in LA was too low to trigger an alert there. The mayor of LA, Eric Garcetti, is calling on his city to take the latest quake as a warning. Be prepared.
If you ask the average Angelino, you're not going to find 100 out of 100 have an earthquake plan for their family. Workplaces often don't. So that is a really great reminder that all of us have work to do ourselves. It's not just done by, the government.
Today, the aftershocks continue, including a magnitude 5.4 quake this morning. As for the big one, experts say each year the odds of a major San Andreas quake happening are about 2%. Yesterday's earthquake does not change those odds. Joe Fryer, NBC News, Ridgecrest, California.
Well, President Trump now says he's considering an executive order to add a citizenship question to the 2020 census. Here's what he told reporters while leaving the White House this morning.
We could also add an addition on so we can start the printing now and maybe do an addendum after we get a positive decision. So we're working on a lot of things, including an executive order.
Last week, the Supreme Court ruled that the citizenship question could not be included. An executive order would not override the court's ruling, but could give Trump administration lawyers a new way to try and sway federal courts to add that question. A federal agency has cited Seattle Children's Hospital for safety violations stemming from that mold problem. One person died. The report from Medicare and Medicaid services lists more than 24 violations. Among them, failure to maintain clean air filter systems that fed into the operating rooms. The hospital says 3 patients developed aspergillus infections this year, and 3 were infected in 2018. 14 operating rooms were closed during that investigation. They reopened yesterday. The hospital has submitted a correction plan to the Medicare and Medicaid Services Agency. That plan, though, has not yet been approved. All right, great news on the job front. There's a new report released today that shows 224,000 jobs were added last month. The unemployment rate ticked up slightly to 3.6, 3.7%, but that's still lower than what it's been for the last 50 years. Downtown Portland is getting a new beach. Audrey McCall Beach will officially open to visitors this afternoon. It's located on the east bank of the Willamette River near the Hawthorne Bridge. It is the second beach in Portland after Poets Beach opened 3 years ago. The Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde will lead a special ceremony to mark its opening. It'll be at 1:30. Our Morgan Romero will be there and have more coverage coming up on KGW News at 4. The Portland Thorns will face off against rival the Seattle Reign this evening. 4 Thorns players are taking part in the World Cup, so they'll have to miss tonight's match. Gets started at 8 o'clock, Providence Park. We'll be sure to bring you all the highlights coming up tonight on KGW News at 11.